Coming up on Jerusalem Dateline, home at last. After 700 days in captivity, 20 Israeli hostages released into the arms of family and friends. And President Trump addresses Israel's Knesset on his way to a peace summit in Egypt. Plus, a saga of captivity and freedom. Louis Harr's story, emblematic of what all the hostages have been through, and celebrating Simchat Torah, the joy of Torah. All this and more coming up on this edition of Jerusalem Dateline. Hello and welcome to this edition of Jerusalem Dateline. I'm Chris Mitchell. President Trump returned to Washington Tuesday after a whirlwind trip to Israel to address Israel's parliament and then sign an historic peace agreement in Egypt. And Israelis are still relishing the return of 20 living hostages after 2 years in Hamas captivity. Here's the latest. The 20 hostages are reuniting with their families and loved ones and beginning the long road to recovery.
As we know, the road to recovery for both of the returnees and their families will be long, and we will be here for them every step of the way with humility, care, and sensitivity.
In Sharm el-Sheikh, Egypt, world leaders gathered as President Trump and the heads of Egypt, Turkey, and Qatar signed a peace agreement that said in part, "We, the undersigned, welcome the truly historic commitment and implementation by all parties to the Trump peace agreement, ending more than 2 years of profound suffering and loss, opening a new chapter for the region, defined by hope, security, and a shared vision for peace and prosperity."
This is the day that people across the region and around the world have been working, striving, hoping, and praying for. They have done things over the last month that I think were really unthinkable. Nobody thought this could happen. With the historic agreement we've just signed, those prayers of millions have finally been answered.
In the meantime, in what some see as the seeds for future terror, Israel released nearly 2,000 Palestinian prisoners as part of the Gaza peace agreement. Many had been serving life sentences for terror attacks that killed many Israelis. Inside Gaza, Hamas has taken over areas the IDF has pulled out of and is publicly executing those who oppose their rule or are accused of collaborating with Israel. So far, Hamas has released only 4 of the 28 bodies of those Hamas killed during captivity, leaving families to question how long it will take to recover their remains. Meanwhile, Israelis continue to celebrate the return of the 20 hostages and the fulfillment of their dreams. Last week on the 700 Club, while Hamas was still negotiating, Gordon Robertson spoke with Leshay Miran Levy, wife of former hostage Omri Miran. He asked if she had hope that she'd see her husband come home soon.
I know that it's not over until it's not over, but like I say before, I always have my hope to see Omri again.
We'll join with you in a prayer to Hashem that once again you'll hear the cry, Abba, Abba, from your 2 little girls, and once again you'll see that smile in his eyes.
Monday, those prayers were answered as Omri and his family were reunited. Joining me to talk more about these historic developments is CBN News producer reporter Joshua Swanson and CBN Middle East correspondent Julie Stahl. Julie, first to you. You've been talking to Israelis about this deal. What are they saying?
Well, of course, first of all, everyone's very happy that the hostages are back, and they can breathe a great sigh of relief. They're very happy. I mean, you see the reception videos and everything, and Israel's taking such good care of them in the hospitals, and making sure they're psychologically in every way fit. On the other hand, there's a kind of a big concern about what did Israel agree to in order to get them out. Mm-hmm. So I think that's a huge concern right now.
It's sort of buyer's remorse. I mean, we're grateful for the deal, but oh no. What does this mean?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that there was another way to do it, but the whole thing of letting out 250 terrorists, convicted terrorist murderers. Some of them are close by being let out, and plus another, 1,700 Hamas or other people from Gaza. So it's very, very scary scary for a lot of people.
Yeah. Joshua, you were down at the airport yesterday, and President Trump really has a big footprint, and the United States has a big footprint as well. You saw that firsthand at the airport.
Yeah, the word that comes to mind is power, Chris. It's an unbelievable display of power when the President of the United States comes. Of course, Air Force One is massive. Yesterday I said it was like a Titanic with wings. You know, and you see the President going up those stairs, and he takes a while. It's not because he's 79. It's because he's going up like 2 stories. So it's just huge. But then there's 3 other C-17s that come with him. Plus, Marco Rubio has his plane, plus the 2 limos and all the vehicles and all the Secret Service. It's an unbelievable display of American power. Even as an American, I was shocked. And, you know, the Israelis, all of the different officials, the local police, everyone was at the airport excited to get a selfie with the plane, to see the president from the distance. So he really is, he's a hero, he's a celebrity, and he's a man with a lot of power.
Yeah, and everybody was so grateful for President Trump. There were banners down in Tel Aviv. And Julie, I don't think I've ever seen a speech in the Knesset like President Trump did yesterday.
Definitely not. I've never seen one. You know, he started off with really honoring and thanking the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So, you know, even that, you know, he was honoring Israel and their God, even if it's his God too. And it was really special. It was very personal. I never saw, it was like they were just having a conversation. It was very personal, and you could tell it was heartfelt. Everything came from his heart, even the joke about pardoning Bibi.
Well, I should explain that. During the speech, he just was very extemporaneous. He said to Bibi Netanyahu, he said, hey, the opposition leader, he's not a bad guy. Why don't you get along with him? The war's over. And then to your point, he said to the president of Israel, why don't you pardon Bibi? He says, you know, cigars and champagne. What's the big deal?
It felt as if he was president of Israel for a few moments there as well.
Yeah.
As president of the United States, based on how free and loose he was.
And very many standing ovations and recognizing so many people that made the difference. And so then he goes from the Knesset to Sharm el-Sheikh, and he meets with leaders from all over the world. And talking about power, he has the ability right now to bring world leaders anywhere it seems like he wants. And Sharm el-Sheikh. What's your thoughts about that peace plan that they signed?
I mean, it looks really good from the outside. I'm not really sure that it says a whole lot from the inside. Some of the characters or leaders that are signing it are not particularly friendly to Israel. I don't know that signing this document is going to make them friendly to Israel. There, you had mentioned. I mentioned
President Erdogan from Turkey, the Emir of Qatar. They're both Muslim Brotherhood. Qatar has been funding Hamas for years, and Erdogan has been having leaders of Hamas in Turkey as well. So.
And the language in the agreement was very broad: a neutral administration, an international force. Didn't identify one single country or one single governing body. So it's interesting. I mean, only President Trump could twist arms and get those leaders there. But now it'll be interesting to see what this agreement really means and if it has any real impact.
That's right. And Julie, we've talked about the fact that right now Hamas is really taking over parts of Gaza that the IDF pulled out of. They're executing collaborators or people that they want to purge.
You know, there's this whole clan issue in Gaza, well, in most of the Arab world, and whoever has the weapons, whoever is strongest, they're the ones in power. It's not a democracy where you vote and everything and everybody has freedom. If that clan is in charge, and Hamas is, then you know, they rule with power. And so Hamas is still in power in that area. You know, Israel let out all these terrorists. Hamas is still in power. It's not really a good sign.
Well, and the International Stabilizing Force, their words. They're now going to have to go to battle with Hamas. To your point.
If they really want Hamas to disarm. 30 seconds left, Joshua. How should people be praying?
Well, to that point about this agreement, we want peace in the Middle East. Everyone here obviously wants that. The Jewish people wanted that their entire existence. So I think that's the thing to pray for, is that we do find a path to true peace in the Middle East.
And that would be a blessing to all of us. And some people are saying maybe this will be at least a temporary pause in fighting and terror, and that there could be a season prophetically and looking up to even greater things, which we'll talk about in the future.
Yeah.
Julie, Joshua, great to be with you.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you.
A hostage survivor recounts the horrors of his kidnapping and captivity when we come back. As Israel celebrates the return of 20 living hostages, it's also getting a closer look at the harrowing journey they all experience. Louise Haar shared his story with us that began on the morning of October 7th, when he and his family ran to the bomb shelter in their home.
At 6:29 in the morning, the red alert began. There was one rocket and another red alarm and another. It didn't stop. On TV, we saw a white Toyota pickup truck. They were driving around in the city of Sderot, shooting everywhere. We also saw Kibbutz Be'eri. It was impossible to understand what was happening at that time. While we were watching television, we also saw very heavy black smoke through the window. And then we thought a missile had fallen inside the factory. After we came back, we were told that it was part of Hamas's plan. They lit a fire, and when the rapid response team arrived, they were all murdered. We went to the bomb shelter, but you cannot lock it from the inside because it is designed to protect from rockets, not from such a large number of terrorists. Suddenly, we started hearing the sounds of them breaking our windows and coming through into the house. And then they got to the bomb shelter. They tried to open the door. In their third attempt, everything fell apart. They would shoot like this. The bullets went over our heads. They took us outside, and I saw that the whole house, everywhere, was full of terrorists. Everything was in ruins, everyone was screaming, and their eyes were full of hatred. Suddenly a white pickup truck arrived, and they took us onto the pickup truck. 5 terrorists came with us. They stood on top of us, as if we were the floor, screaming out, "Allahu Akbar." They drove like crazy, a crazy drive, jumping. Every turn, the weapon of the person who was close to me kept hitting my head all the time. And Clara tried to stop the weapon. I pushed her hand down and said, "Don't do that, don't touch their weapon, because they'll think you're trying to take it and they'll kill us." There was an entrance to the tunnel. From inside, the terrorists came out. There were 2 in front, 2 in the middle, and 2 in the back. And they put us inside. Every door they opened, I thought to myself, this is it, this is the place. But no, we kept going and going and going. We were inside the tunnel for 4 to 5 hours, constantly running. Complete darkness. We couldn't see anything. We might have ran in circles, but who knows? Suddenly they pushed us to the side. They put up metal bars like a ladder, 40 meters. If someone didn't manage to climb, they tied him up with ropes, like a package, and pulled them. They set us aside. They brought clothes for women. They gave them skirts and a hijab that covered everything so that only the eyes were visible, making sure no one could see who they were. The first one who came in, we called him the owner of the house. He looked around and said, "I'll protect you." Later on, I understood it very well, because he did keep us from the others. They were wild with hatred in their eyes, and they always wanted to hit us. They treated us horribly. We said among ourselves not to argue and to do everything they told us. We had to ask permission for the bathroom, for everything, and so we did. They didn't let us talk much, so we had to stay very quiet. We were all so close to each other, almost like in an embrace. We listened to each other's stories. That gave us strength. The fact that we were together, all 5 of us, gave us so much strength and hope. One helped another, and when someone was feeling down, the others lifted him up. And so the days passed. There, every minute felt like a lifetime. All the information we received came from the owner of the house who told us what was happening. But he told us everything from the Arab point of view, what he heard from Al Jazeera and so on. So we knew to take it with a grain of salt. These were the stories he would tell us, and we would respond, "Oh, really? Yes, of course." What else could we do? We couldn't argue. We just answered, "Yes, yes, yes." He was the one who would say, "There's a deal. There's no deal. They didn't sign." Everyone signed except for that crazy Netanyahu.
On our destruction.
Until one day he came and said, "There is a deal." They signed it. Tomorrow at 7 in the morning, the ceasefire begins and we'll start releasing the hostages. I told everyone to be prepared. It was going to be a long night. And it was. It was a terrible night. Before a ceasefire, each side tries to bomb each other as much as possible. This was a night of horrors. It was the hardest night we've had. At 7 in the morning, suddenly it was silent. Everything stopped. Everything seemed fine. They came in the afternoon and told Mia, "You'll be released today, but only the women. Men are staying. They will make the exchange and then it will be over. If someone doesn't want to, it's a bullet to the head." And that was the end of the story. There was no point in arguing. We remember the exact moment where the girls were transported to the Red Cross. We cried a lot. We were so excited. We realized that it was true, that it was really happening. And it gave us the strength to believe that we could also be released.
Up next, he thought he was about to die. Then he heard a whisper, "IDF, we are here to take you home."
After that day, we waited for the moment when our names would be on the list. But next Friday, at 7 in the morning, instead of a ceasefire and trucks, we started hearing the IDF's bombings. We looked at each other and said, "We're staying here." And that was the end of the ceasefire agreement. We stayed for a long time after that. Our body was there, but our minds were drifting to different places. Until one night we went to sleep, and at around 2 a.m. there was a huge explosion. I opened my eyes and saw bullets flying like this, all bullets glowing red. A war inside the room. It was very loud. It was really hard to understand what was happening. I think that the IDF is blowing up the building. I rolled on the floor toward the door near the stairs. Someone grabbed my head, lowered it, grabbed my leg, and whispered in my ear, "Luis, IDF, IDF, we are here to take you home." At that moment, it felt like those were the best hands in the whole world. We got to the balcony and we heard someone on the soldier radio say, "The diamonds are in our hands." We went downstairs. There were soldiers waiting. We started running. And again, in shorts, t-shirts, barefoot, in the middle of winter, but we ran. After about 250 to 300 meters, I saw the lights of the truck. I stopped and said, "Oops, they caught us." And the soldier behind me said, "No, Luis, keep going, keep running, it's ours." He was pushing me forward. And so they put us on the truck. Around the Khan Yunis area, we switched vehicles, and then we went around the city of Gaza. Then a helicopter took us to a safe place, a location under IDF control. It may seem like a lot, but everything happened very quickly and precisely. Everything started at around 2 a.m. At 3:15 a.m., we were already at Sheba Tel HaShomer Hospital. Then the whole family started arriving, one by one. Everyone was coming from different cities. And with each arrival, there was hugging, crying, excitement. And that is when we took that image you see on my wall. All 5 of us hugging each other at the hospital. It's a picture that represents liberation and hope, showing that we can continue moving forward. And it's truly a miracle. All 5 of us were kidnapped, and we are all still alive, back in Israel. It changed us completely, and it's still not easy. The trauma is still inside. We need to learn to live with that trauma, to move on. We need to tell the whole world what happened on the 7th of October so that it won't be forgotten. It is very important to remember what happened on the 7th of October. So, from that moment, what I do mainly is advocacy to support the hostages' families, because we want to spread hope throughout the world. Anyone who needs hope can receive it. The soldiers who came and rescued us not only gave me my life back, they gave me a new life. They gave me a mission. And that mission is to give hope and bring light to others. And that is what I do.
When we come back, the holiday of Simchat Torah, the joy of Torah, holding special meaning after the release of the hostages. Well, the high holiday season in the Jewish calendar is drawing to a close, and we have come to the last and greatest day of the feast. Young and old, soldier and scholar, it brings the Jewish people from all walks of life together to celebrate. And with a fresh ceasefire in place and the remaining living hostages released, there's all the more reason for jubilation. Take a look.
As we come to the end of the fall feasts, there's one more little-known day mentioned in the book of Leviticus in the Bible. It's called Shmini Atzeret, or the 8th day of assembly. It's the day when Jewish people would gather to pray for rain for the upcoming year. This feast has also become known as Simchat Torah, meaning joy of the Torah, when a new annual cycle of Bible reading is started and Jewish people rejoice over the Word of God with singing and dancing and carrying Torah scrolls. The rejoicing happens in all settings, from the front lines of war to the Western Wall in Jerusalem.
Well, that's all for this edition of Jerusalem Dateline. Thanks for joining us. And thanks also for praying with us for more than 2 years for the release of the hostages. Today we celebrate God's mercy and faithfulness to the Jewish people and to all who call on His name. Please continue to pray that the families still waiting for the remains of their loved ones will receive them, as well as God's comfort. I'm Chris Mitchell. For all of us here at the Jerusalem Bureau, we'll see you next time on Jerusalem Dateline.